Hi, everyone. This is the third live stream this week with Nicole and her kids from Sugar Feather Farm. Thank you so much for tuning in. And my name is Tara Pereira. I'm the executive director of Vermont Fresh Network. And we manage the diginvt.com site and Open Farm Week for a group of organizations that all work together to promote food and farm in Vermont. Okay, so today's live stream will be a bit more of a Q&A than our previous live streams this week. So Nicole, so I know we've gotten some questions here from people who are interested in starting, like getting new breeds of chickens or birds, and how do you recommend picking the right bird, or for how do you make recommendations to folks?
Yeah, sure. So basically, somebody might ask me that question, and I respond by saying, "What's your setup? Where do you live? How big is your coop or house? Housing? How many? What are you going to use them for? Are they going to free range? Are they not going to free range?" So I have to get lots of information from people first, and then usually help them decide. Also on the website, we have under each breed descriptions about them, their history, and also how many eggs, if they're cold hardy, if they're hot hardy, right? Because it does get really hot.
Sure.
So and then their purpose: meat, eggs, companionship,
Yeah.
Things like that.
So and let's say someone already has a flock of let's use chickens as an example. How do you recommend that they introduce other chickens into their flock?
Yes, so that depends on ages. So if you have, for example, I'll just use one example, but there's different scenarios. So a group of 5 hens, older hens, and you want to bring new hens in for the year, and they might be pullets, so they may be around 6 months. So the best way to integrate would be to have them see each other, but maybe not touch each other, and you do slow introductions. So maybe you have something actually like this inside the area, and you have the new birds in there, so they feel safe and protected, because they're going to be nervous and they're going to be scared. The other hens can see them, and then they slowly get to know each other. And you can do that many ways. Like I said, you can have it inside the coop where they're sleeping at night as well, and in the run. You can kind of move it around. And then I always recommend too, for the new birds, to have extra, vitamins for stress, because they're going to be stressed. And then they will get along with each other. Depending also too on the personalities of the chickens, and some breeds are friendlier than other breeds, so it can consider that too.
And let's say, what about if someone were starting from the ground up and they wanted to get a flock? How do you make that recommendation? Let's say they're, since we need to focus on what the purpose, or why you're getting chickens or ducks, and let's say we want a flock of chickens for eggs. So we want birds that lay well, but maybe of varying breeds. How do you decide, how do folks decide on if they want to do multiple breeds, or like which ones go well together? I know in the past we've talked about, I've mentioned like, oh, it's kind of like planting a fish tank. You need larger, it's just different types of breeds and have different personalities and different needs, but there's a way to make them all ease into each other, basically have a healthy flock,
Right. So again, it's kind of like, I feel like I'm like a matchmaker in a way. Like a matchmaker right here. So you assess many things like the personalities. So, on there I was saying about there's different chickens for different things. So if you're picking ones for egg layers, I recommend, you think of how many eggs they're going to lay per year, and then divide that up too, because you you know, depending on what you're going to use your eggs for, you might want mini hens. I always recommend having a rooster if you can. Roosters actually are very important to the flock, and
Yeah.
later, but I usually recommend a rooster. And then it does take some planning, and usually, like I said before, people ask me, you know, the questions about that. So um, if you want
Yeah.
hardier breeds that lay a lot more eggs, then you have to also consider the personalities of the breeds. Did I answer the
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, no, of course. You know, and there were we put a call out for some questions. We all, you know, and one person asked about hardy breeds. Like which chicken is the person, they live in New Hampshire. What chicken breeds are the most cold hardy or all weather?
So I'll touch on that, and then my daughter wants to answer that too. But
Okay.
there are breeds that are very hardy, and I don't have them all here, of course, because there's so many different types of chickens. That's just wonderful. If we're just about chickens, right? There's also ducks and geese, turkeys that are really hardy as well. Turkeys are very hardy. So are geese, and so are ducks. I would consider them very hardy. Um, and then in the chicken world, there's more, you know, like I said, hardier breeds than others. And some we have here would be, for example, I brought these guys out. They're called Pavlovskaya. They're
Hmm.
but they're Russian, and they are actually good in all climates. So they're really good in the heat as well, and very winter hardy.
Oh.
And these are, but just for an example.
And I hear a turkey. Um, uh,
Um, they
you were
really,
mentioning your daughter had cold hardy breeds.
yeah. Who else is cold hardy? Hetemoras. You gotta talk louder.
We have a Hedemora.
Louder, baby.
Hedemora.
Why are they cold hardy?
Um,
What do they have special on their feathers? What are they called? The most cold hardy chicken in the world. Yes.
Mhm.
Remember?
And
special feathers under their bellies and mostly around their bodies.
okay, you know, I have a question here too, beyond cold hardy, but this is more of a like I say, inside baseball question. This is in the weeds, but what do you think of the deep litter method for winter coops?
um, you have to. I'm not an expert on that, so
Okay.
different. I've experimented quite a bit. So a lot of litter or a lot of different things I try, and some things work and some things don't, and then I kind of try them again too in a different way. So a lot of it is just experimentation and you trying things for yourself, really. You can read in books and go to YouTube and watch videos, but really you need to try it yourself is my biggest recommendation. But I think the deep letter method is really good. It's just a matter of maintenance. So there's like a huge, like I can go crazy into it, but I brought some stuff just in case. So for example, you would clean just before, like in the fall, like before winter, you would clean your coop out completely or structure, whatever you're using.
Yeah.
And then I put zeolite on the bottom. So this is an example of a zeolite, and you know, we can. That's something else to talk about later. It's for ammonia and things like that. And then I definitely would use something like pine shavings as your first
Yeah.
base layer because they decompose really fast. So really, you're making compost in a way. So
Mm.
compost, right, is all about balance of the pH. So you
Yeah.
compost is hot, right, when you're composting. So you're just creating layers. So you have different layers of different things, and the key is to turn the layers. You want it deep. So some
Mm.
people do start, and then you could add layers, and then and then also the key is to turn it. You have to turn it very often,
Yeah.
right? And also the chickens turn it themselves, right? So you put treats like cracked corn, maybe, some black little sunflower seeds, and then they'll naturally want to turn. So,
Oh, and so you were saying it is kind of like compost. So is it another way of keeping warm? I mean, it must.
like for example, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Tells me like the balance, like where, because I don't know off the top of my head if it's warm enough or hot, and then this tells me if it's working.
Oh, that's neat. So, I guess what would you say? I have some actually kids questions here. Is there any dessert a chicken can eat?
Actually, yes. We have in guide for keeping chickens. They have a recipe.
Yeah.
But you can show that. But this,
It's a birthday cake.
Oh,
With strawberries and you can
so there's like fruits and stuff, and
it with a lot of healthy things, and then my sister Bella Rose is going to show you that we have a thing called a seed roll. It's also for them. Like another plaything. You have creamy butter that you bake and have a plate full of seeds, strawberries. You can cut them all up and you roll it in, and then it just sticks on there, and they
peanut butter.
love to eat it.
Yeah, and here's like a picture of it. They toilet paper roll, whatever you have, and peanut butter. So just like if you were making this for wild birds, you're just making it for chickens, and then you could put the peanut butter, like Shannon said, corn on it, like something to entice them other than their feed, just for fun.
yeah. And like, what would you say? What are the accessories a coop should have? What should every coop have?
Well, a coop should have curtains in front of a nesting box, so the girls have privacy when they're laying their eggs, and they should have roofs that are nice and long and good to grip on.
I have some other ideas too.
Yeah.
Some fun or accessories would be a sign, which we make our own signs. We have a sign back there. Grit, which is not really an accessory but a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a water bowl.
Yeah.
Something that
And oh, what's that?
Herbs. So this, and it's very hot here, so they're already kind of getting wilty. So we have a garden, and we just grab herbs out of there. So here's lemon balm, mint, and I think this is actually mustard green. And then we hang that up, and then they can play around with it, eat it. And ducks love mint, by the way. So we could add also to water for the waterfowl.
Oh, so and I would say so. What would you say? In our earlier live stream, you used to live in California, and you're now in Vermont, and you didn't, as I understand, you didn't have chickens or ducks or birds out there, but here in Vermont, it's a little colder, little temperatures go down a little lower. And what would you say, when you're if someone's going to raise poultry or fowl in this climate, and what are some of the necessities that that people really need to think about?
Right. So for our climate, so first on the climate here, I feel like we have every kind of climate. So we even have, I mean, it's super hot here too, just like California. It's also humid certain times of year. So I feel like we have to have scenarios all weather. So our
Yeah.
have to be very tough for all weather conditions. So that's something we work on here, having hardy breeds in all weather conditions. But for winter, specifically for winter, you need to choose whether you want to heat the coop or not. Well, that's a huge topic to discuss.
Yeah.
But you can think about heat if you want to do some heat. Water, water is going to be freezing. So how are you going to have water, and what are you going to do about water to them? You want it really easy and convenient for you too. So, in a blizzard, do you want to go out and replace the water? And you have to consider
Yeah.
and then also feed, and then the litter. What are you going to do about litter? What are you going to do about the droppings? They're going to freeze. How to take care of that. It's really about warmth, giving them the right nutrition in the winter. It might be a little different in the winter, the nutrition, and you're not really going to get any eggs unless you have artificial light. We don't do that here though, but that as well.
And since you've been here, are there any intermediate, or I'll say intermediate tips that you can offer for folks?
There's so many. I'm not sure. What would be an intermediate tip? Maybe creating a dust bath, which it could be a beginner as well. But chicken having a dust bath is important, and even in the winter, for them to have a dust bath. So a dust bath, I don't have all the stuff here to show you, would be something where the chicken can go in and they flap up their feathers and they clean themselves, and they get potential bugs off of them. And actually, if you can see, I have a dust bath over here going in a way. So the chicken's in a hole that they've created, and he's actually flapping.
We lost. Oh, there we go.
Dust bath right there. And if you want to make your own, you can put diatomaceous earth in there, peat moss, some sand, and that's what I usually make. And the key is to have it dry. And we also use some intermediate things would be wood ash to put in there. You just want to get it wet. So
yeah. Oh, what is that little white chicken over there? The little fluffy one.
Those are silkies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
the turkeys like silkies.
Yeah. So, would you say what about having, is there anything specific folks should know about, things specific to heritage breeds or rare breeds, in fact, when they are, just raising them and we've talked about the importance of food and a balanced diet, but is there anything else that people should, take into account?
Yeah, so like I said, heritage breeds, yes, they definitely need, I would say, more considerations on the feeding, balanced diet part. Really, there's nothing different about them. That's what's so cool about them.
Yeah.
Really understanding the breed and the background and the breed's needs. So, like, for example, the chickens, so they're on the I'm not sure if they're critically endangered, but they're on the livestock.
Yeah.
So they don't like confinement. They're like more of a wild chicken. So
yeah.
they forage, so just some birds have just different needs or different considerations just to think about.
Could you talk a little bit about turkeys? So I know that you have a couple over here. They're hanging out watching, or a few evidently. They like to hang out. Can how do they get along with the chickens, or do you recommend keeping them separate, or we haven't really talked turkeys. We haven't talked turkey that much. So I'm just curious about raising them and how that sort of thing.
Are so amazing. I mean, so are geese. I mean, they're so amazing. It really depends on what you're doing. Turkeys can carry a disease that could be fatal to chickens, and you have to consider that. And if you're okay with that, okay.
Yeah.
But it's a slight possibility, right? So you have to consider those considerations on that. But they get along, like our turkeys get along with everybody. There's some chickens they don't like a particular chicken. They don't really like him, they chase. His name's is Spots. He's Fitzhoven. I know that's a big name. He's out there somewhere, and they don't like him. We don't know why. Maybe because he has white spots. But
or they don't like his vibe. Yeah, who knows?
that's something that is very important in our farm here. So they love to roost and be outside most of the time. They really don't like to be confined. So we really do let them out for free range quite a bit. But during at night, we do put them away, or they do roost very high up, and they're usually very safe against predators up on top of there, because also consideration would be predators. I know we didn't talk much about that, but they're pretty good on that.
So, yeah, well, I have just one question, and then we should talk about predators, certainly. But is there anything unique to turkey chicks that people should take into account?
Yeah, so turkey chicks are called poults.
Poults, okay.
Are harder, a little bit more difficult. So I would say they're more maybe an intermediate. I would start like basic, like if you're going to start with chicks, ducklings. But turkey poults it's not that they're not harder, they're just not as strong. And you have to really pay attention to them with water access and feed access.
Yeah.
So those are some of the considerations.
Yeah. So let's talk about predators for a second. How do we, what do you, yeah, there's so many of them, right? How do you protect your birds? What should people
really
think about?
Where you live and what types you have.
Oh, your audio's out a little bit. Yeah.
Hear me? You want me to repeat?
Yeah,
that?
now I can't. Now I can't. Yeah, could you please?
Sure. Yeah. So that depends on where you live, the types of predators you have, and your setup. So that's going to be unique to everybody's situation. So I can just give a little bit of an example if you want.
Yeah, sure.
We have cameras everywhere. It does detects movement. We do that. It's one of the things. Electric fencing, using hardware cloth is really good. Chicken wire, most things can get into. And like I said, it's very based on the situation and your setup. So definitely do on considerations of design and designing your coop and your run or your housing for any of the birds we have here. Just you have to think of what you have. There's aerial predators, right? So hawks.
Yep.
We have everything here. So
yeah. And also predators that dig underneath and.
Yes. Oh, yes. So we can't put netting all over ours. If you netting, great. So there's different things to do on that, like scarecrows and having a livestock guardian dog, having ravens. We have a raven family in the area that actually helps. Things like that. So CD.
If people, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you there. So we're coming up on our time, but I wanted to ask, we could be here for like hours just talking about like just even turkeys or ducks or housing coops and things like that. If people have questions for you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so one really wonderful thing, like a part of our philosophy and how is that you can once you buy from us, and I even help people who don't, of course, but once you buy, you're part of our family. So we really consider everybody part of our family, and they can ask us questions anytime. So I thought it was really hard when I was looking for chickens or ducks or turkeys. It's really hard to find information or someone like you want to talk to somebody about it and ask.
Yeah.
And it was really challenging for me. So I really want to make sure I do that for people. By that, and I love sharing, and so do the kids. We love talking about the birds and all the really cool things about them. So we hopefully down the road we'll have classes and more of this, doing things like this online to help people, and just to share the wonderful aspects of raising heritage breeds.
Yeah.
Turkeys, people, and geese. Like geese are herbivores, and they're really cool. They are also guardian. They're our guardians. I forgot to mention here too.
Oh, yeah.
Stars for have like a plan moving forward of having geese in different parts of our pens to help guard some of our chickens, and they're going to be guarding a bunch of our birds. So that's our plan with them as well. So
Wow, I didn't realize. Yeah, I mean, I knew geese could be protected, but I didn't realize you could use this as guard birds for the other animals, and I mean the chickens and the ducks and everything. So that's really interesting. Okay, so thank you so much for speaking. Doing another. Can you hear me? Okay.
Instagram. Sorry, I didn't mention.
No, could you repeat that again? I didn't hear your audio there.
Oh,
Go ahead.
You can reach us, phone call, email, Instagram, Facebook, any way. It just might take us some time to get back to you. We're few but strong.
Yeah.
So,
you get a lot of questions, I'm sure.
I do. I get a lot of questions, which I love. Don't mind answering. It just might take some time for us to get back, so just be patient with us on that.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, and thank you for participating in these Open Farm Week live streams. This is something new for us, and I've really enjoyed it. And thank you, ladies, everyone. And until next year for Open Farm Week.
Yes, thank
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.